Hey guys, it's Hink here. Today we're going to be talking about one of the most underrated and underappreciated aspects, I think, when it comes to men's health and also when it comes to men's enlargement. We got a very important paper we're going to discuss. So it's this paper here, and it's basically called Testosterone and Sleep-Related Erections, an Overview. But we're going to be talking about how that ties into men's health and, of course, trying to get bigger. What am I even talking about? So most guys know about like morning wood, nocturnal erections. Well, it's literally just like when you get a hard-on either in the middle of the night or when you first wake up in the morning. But as they discussed in this paper, it's interesting because this isn't like an erotica-driven thing. You know, of course, if you have like a fun dream, yeah, you could wake up with one. But in general, the physiology is much different than when you're awake and when you're conscious. So they're strongly androgen dependent, and they are dependent on like your rapid eye movement, your sleep pattern when your eyes are, moving, if you've ever been really watched somebody sleep or even your dog sleep for that matter. So how often they occur? Usually about 3 to 6 times per night, pretty much every night of the week, and usually they last for about 10 minutes at a time. So what are the causes of this? Well, to be honest, even in this paper here, like I've talked about, they don't really know what the exact cause is, but they have linked it to a couple things like androgens, your hormones, testosterone. But then there's things like physical stimulation. You could be rolling over on the bed and stimulating yourself accidentally or intentionally. Hormonal changes during sleep. So when your natural hormones are released when you sleep, especially in that REM sleep, that some of those peaks can cause nocturnal erections. And also they just say like brain relaxation, or basically when your brain relaxes while you're sleeping, sometimes it even secretes hormones, believe it or not, to help prevent you from peeing on yourself while you're asleep. So all of those things can come into play there. So Hink, what's the big deal? Why are they so important? Well, most important for recovery, guys. When you are basically getting these nocturnal erections, anytime you get an erection in general, okay, you are getting additional blood flow to that penis, which is going to help to keep that tissue healthy. That's why, like, whatever, no fap guys, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But I do believe that there's merit to at least making sure that you are getting regular erections for your overall penile health.
But you can't do this to me. You know how much I sacrificed?
And part of it, I like to read this section of this paper for you here. The main function of nocturnal erections is to provide adequate engorgement of the corpora cavernosa, so adequate enlargement, filling with blood, which then leads to increased tissue oxygenation, so better healthy blood flow to the penis. This is in turn to prevent cavernosal fibrosis, or basically the scarring down of your penile tissue, the histopathological basis for corporal veno-occlusive dysfunction, basically meaning erectile dysfunction, which is probably the most common cause of organic erectile dysfunction, guys. So this is vitally important for your overall health, that you are getting these nocturnal erections every night. Now, the one piece of PE lore that people have, I've seen since the beginning of my PE journey, is everybody says, be careful, if you start to lose nocturnal erections, that's a really bad thing. And I could not agree more. That is like double Hink seal of approval, because I do think that this is like the precursor of badness if you are stopping, if you're no longer getting nocturnal erections. There's a lot of different pathophysiology, meaning anatomical ways how this could occur. So number one, damage to your actual endothelial tissue, to the actual like vascular tissue in your smooth muscle tissue. It's not relaxing adequately, it's not engorging adequately, can lead to erectile dysfunction that way. Damage to the nerves. So not only the nerves that are responsible for your penile function, but also, guys, it's actually the nerves in your penis that actually release the nitric oxide that allows the tissue to dilate and allows it to go engorge, amongst other things, guys. So if you have damage, you could be damaging that nitric oxide system or damaging the nerves itself. You could damage the vascular structures that are underneath, damage to the arteries or the veins. If you are doing stuff at very high pressure and you actually blow a valve, you could have like venous leak and lead to erectile dysfunction that way. You would notice that because you're no longer getting erections at night, amongst other times. And of course, pelvic floor dysfunction, guys. If your bulbospongiosus muscle is not functioning appropriately because you just like Kegel all the time and you don't do stretches, and it's not adequately allowing your tissue to relax, then yeah, of course, you could have erectile dysfunction that way. What else could be an indicator if you are no longer having nocturnal erections? You could have hormonal imbalances. So nocturnal erections, unlike your erections during the day. So fun fact, guys, you could actually be castrated, have no testicles at all, and you could still have an erection during the day, during like when you're awake and stimulated. This is not the case when it comes to nocturnal erections. It's very androgen dependent, testosterone dependent. This is one of the leading theories of why so many men, like as they age, they get erectile dysfunction, is because as they age, their androgens decrease, their testosterone decreases, which therefore they don't get as many nocturnal erections. And it's usually, I mean, it is literally a use it or lose it situation, guys. If you are not getting those nocturnal erections, then you're going to lose your penile function, basically. And also, guys, androgens act to actually preserve that nitric oxide pathway. So here's an excerpt from that PDF as well. Sleep-related erections are triggered by the release of nitric oxide by the nitrogen nerve fibers within the cavernous nerves. Androgens regulate this process, this mechanism. So this is a very androgen-dependent cycle. Cycle, no pun intended. So that's why it's very important, guys, that you have a good hormonal balance. And guys, in these rat studies that show that, like, I made several videos about locks or anti-locks, and it shows that literally just giving a rat anti-locks will cause their penis to enlarge just from that substance. Well, why is that? Guys, it's from the nocturnal erections. They are getting these nocturnal erections during the night, which is causing the tissue to engorge, and because of that anti-locks, it allows it to stretch. You can literally just have engorgement based on that alone. Now, that's in the setting of anti-locks, but that's just the importance of having nocturnal erections. And if I haven't said this like 4 different ways already, it prevents penile atrophy or shrinking over time, guys. Yes, you can lose size if you are not getting regular erections because your tissue shrinks back down. It's a fact. So guys, you need to be aware. You need to keep track of how often you're having nocturnal erections. There's some of you guys that are like super duper type A, like concerned about everything. So guys, there are actually devices. Here's a paper actually reviewing some of those devices, but there's devices you can buy that can actually monitor your nocturnal erections for those of you that are like so worried about it. I don't think it's necessary, guys. Just use common sense. How many times do you wake up during the week with an erection? What's a definitive list of what can make these things go away? So damage, we already talked about damage. Endothelial tissues, the vasculature, the nerves. Hormonal imbalances, make sure your hormones are balanced. So that can include things like making sure you're getting high quality sleep, diet, exercise, resistance, training. There's a lot of different factors that go into that, but make sure that your hormonal levels are peaked, because if your hormonal levels are jacked, you will start to lose your nocturnal erections. Medications like SSRIs, beta blockers, so selective serotonin receptor inhibitors, like antidepressants, guys. Beta blockers, all of these drugs can actually limit your nocturnal erections, and other drugs at that as well. Just stress, guys. When you're in that, if you are constantly stressed out, especially when you're in that fight or flight and your body is sending out sympathetic signals, it causes your pelvic floor to be like clenched, and it prevents the relaxation of your natural like tissue in that area. You can't actually relax and you can't engorge with blood. So if you are stressed out all the time, that can screw you up. And also if you're stressed out and it raises your cortisol levels, cortisol can actually screw up your hormonal balance as well. There's many different things reasons why stress is such a bad thing. Sleep apnea, guys. There's actually papers showing that sleep apnea can decrease nocturnal erections. One of the things that I'm so passionate about, obesity in general, guys. Obesity for so many different reasons can lead to poor nocturnal erections. Then of course depression, like in this paper here, but once again, it's about like the signals that are going to your pelvic floor and also hormonal imbalances that can result from depression. But absolutely depression can cause that. So guys, what are some of the ways that we can improve it? So boosting your nitric oxide before bed. Guys, I've made like at least 5 different videos on the importance of citrulline and citrulline-based supplements. One of the guys like to clown me about, it's like, oh, do I need to tell you guys I'm 6'5" in this video too? Oh man, sorry, I'm such a douchebag sometimes.
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
But if you take citrulline, especially before bed, the 2 times I think citrulline is most important is before PE or before a workout, and then before bed. I take a full scoop of Vigor before bed every night, guys, because of that nitric oxide boost. So that's very important. Guys, if you start to lose your nocturnal erections and you're doing any kind of PE, then you need to just take time off. You need to take a break and recover until those nocturnal erections return, because once again, it could be a signal for underlying damage. Similar to nitric oxide boosters, guys, PDE5 inhibitors. I've made once again, at least 1,000 videos on the importance of phosphodiesterase 5 inhibitors like Viagra or Cialis, and why pretty much everybody should consider being on them. Everybody being, in my opinion, guys that are at least probably over 28 to 30 years old. I don't think if you're healthy and in your 20s, you need to mess with the PDE5 inhibitor, personally. You do your research, you guys figure out what's best for you. Shockwave therapy, guys. I think there's a lot of snake oil when it comes to shockwave therapy, but there is some clinical evidence that shockwave therapy can help with erectile dysfunction specifically, okay, guys? I made a whole video on shockwave if you want to learn more about it from my perspective. I even bought the Phoenix device and used it, and I reported my experience with it. P-shot. Once again, guys, the P-shot, when we're talking about for like injury recovery and penile health, the P-shot has a lot of clinical evidence that it can make a difference. When we're talking about specifically enlargement, no, there is not. There's essentially zero evidence for that by itself. But I do think it can be, it can help with returning of nocturnal erections, especially if you're recovering from injury. And guys, light pumping. Yeah, I've talked about this before, but pumping up to a pressure of maybe 5 to 7 inches of mercury, doing 2 or 3 sets for 5 minutes before bed, drawing in that extra blood, getting that blood flow going before bed, you know, potentially using a high quality pump like what we have on Peak Male Physique, or other, you know, places if you're interested. It doesn't matter where it comes from, that can absolutely help with boosting those nocturnal erections as well. So guys, be aware, nocturnal erections or the loss thereof can be a marker, one of the first signs of significant injury, damage to your body, or just poor overall health in general. So be aware, take care of yourself. Hope you learned something. If you need to reach me directly, patreon.king. Catch you in the next one, guys. Peace and love.